Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Hello, you lovely lot. My name is Max. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you cannot tell already, I am absolutely buzzing. About 15 minutes ago, Forest just wrapped up their 4th round FA Cup win against Leicester City. The holders of the cup out in the 4th round. And I don't just mean out on their tails, dispatched with ease by the Reds on the day. What a performance by Nottingham Forest. We're going to get that into that today. Hopefully spend some time talking about the analytics, talking about who the best players on the day were and how the game just sort of went during the balance of it, and talk about the 4 goals that Forest managed to score. Spoiler alert, they were pretty amazing. Of course, if you want to see more of these match previews and match reactions, don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe, and let me know down below what games you want to see me preview. The Champions League returns, not this week, but the week after. I definitely want to do some Champions League content, so leave a like down below and let me know what games you want to see me preview ahead of those next week. But today we're going to be getting into the FA Cup 4th round and talking about the dismantling of Leicester City at the hands of Nottingham Forest. Let's get into it. Before we do that, I also want to say a bit of an apology. I like to sort of correct myself when I make mistakes. In the preview video, which you can check up in the iCard above, I mentioned that Joe Worrell, Wilfred Ndidi and Kelechi Iheanacho would not be involved in the game. Obviously, all 3 started for their respective teams. Worrell, of course, managed to get back into training. The guy must have Wolverine stuff flowing through his veins, because according to Transfermarkt, he was supposed to be out until the end of the month. Managed to come back pretty early from that broken rib, and Ndidi and Iheanacho were doubts because of the Africa Cup of Nations obviously started in the end. Apologies for getting that wrong. I do like to hold myself accountable when I make those kind of mistakes, and again, if you see anything, please let me know in the comments below. I like to hold myself accountable for those sorts of things. So let's get into the game and talk about the result on the day. Of course, the game ended 4-1 on the day, a thumping scoreline from the Reds. Zinkernagel and Johnson opening the scoring, the Johnson goal coming almost immediately after Zinkernagel opened the scoring. Joe Worrell and then a late second half goal from Jed Spence sealed the win for the Reds against the Foxes. Leicester, of course, did manage to get one back pretty late in the first half. Kelechi Iheanacho finishing off a decent little counter-attack from Leicester. I don't know what Bryce Samba was doing. He came out into no man's land, got megged by the Nigerian international, who just slotted it home pretty easily. Samba, I mean, mate, what are you doing? I'll let you have it because we did win in the end, but that shouldn't be getting caught out there. McKenna looked absolutely furious with him afterwards. I think it was clearly, goalkeeper was at fault there, but balance of play didn't really make too much of a difference on the result, of course. So now we're going to talk a bit about the goals. Of course, if you haven't seen the game, then obviously this is a bit of a review of how the goals went in. If you saw it and you're not that interested, obviously skip forward into the next section where I talk a bit about the tactics. But the first goal was a really well-worked goal from Forest. Probably the best of the bunch, I would suggest. Really well worked down the line by Jed Spence, who lays it back to Brennan Johnson. A lovely whipped deep cross to the back stick, headed across goal by Keenan Davis, who on the day was absolutely immense. Going across to, again, another immense player on the day in the form of Philip Zinkernagel, who converted from close range past Danny Ward in goal. The second came almost immediately after. If you were watching on BBC, you'll know what I mean. The replay was still showing, and Johnson just had put the ball into the back of the net. Didn't really know what was going on. What actually happened was a long ball went down the left-hand side of the pitch. Max Lowe, I think it was, did a really good job of pressing the back line from Leicester. It ended up with Daniel Amate, who's obviously not a natural centre-back. Didn't really know what he was doing on the ball. Played a square ball across the box, hoping to get to the goalkeeper. Johnson picked it off and put it between the keeper's legs, finishing off for 2-0. The third goal, I won't go into as much detail with this one, was a lovely little finish from Joe Worrell. Lovely corner, I believe, from James Garner. A lovely deep one. Forest's set-piece routine was actually quite interesting for a lot of the game. For long periods of it, they were playing a pretty deep corner strategy, looking for the late runs into the box as soon as the ball had been played. Leicester, who I think were going for a mix of zonal and man marking, couldn't really pick up on the late runners. Joe Worrell being a really good example of that, who just threw his head at the ball like a salmon. Man's supposed to have a broken rib and he's just throwing himself at the ball, puts it into the back of the net, the captain netting his first goal in the FA Cup this season. And the final goal on the day was a really nice culmination of some good play down the right hand side from Forest. Lands to the feet of Jed Spence, who plays a lovely little 1-2 between himself and Philip Zinkernagel, who slots him through and he puts it between the keeper's legs and finishes it off. Quite nice, actually. Really nice little finish from the right back. You would think he was like a poacher style striker. It was a lovely little cultured finish from him. On the day, of course, 4 goals from Forest And all four in their own right had some really good positives to take away from them. Really good work from set pieces from the Joe Worrell goal. Good work from deep crosses and getting the ball back across goal from the Keenan Davis to Zinkernagel goal. Obviously, Brennan Johnson's finish just showed how good our pressing has been under Steve Cooper at times this season. And of course, just that lovely interchange for Jed Spencer's goal for getting the fourth. So now we spent some time talking about the goals and the match itself. I want to talk a bit about the Forest tactics and the structure of the game. I don't really want to say formation because it's a bit of a loose word, I suppose. We were kind of playing a 3-4-3, but it was kind of also a 3-4-1-2, with that one being sort of a number 10 dropping sort of from striker to midfield. The idea being that the front three can also press at the back line, but also one of them can drop deep and sort of block off the passing lanes between the centre backs and the midfield, sort of cutting out the ability for Leicester to play out from the back. And then the two strikers, of course, pressing forward onto the centre backs, which also stops them from getting the long ball out. And that was really well exemplified through the game. Obviously, Brennan Johnson's goal, really good example of that, pressing the back line, cutting the passing lanes off, cutting in to get the goal. We did it quite often during the game, cutting the passing lanes out and looking to get the ball high up the pitch from high transitions into the box as quickly as possible. And you can really see how this structure worked in the stats. Although Leicester managed 68% possession, actually more than Arsenal managed against us in the FA Cup third round a couple of weeks ago, Forest were a lot more direct with the ball, generating 12 chances, actually outshooting their Premier League position on the day 12-11. Importantly as well, a third of our chances came from set pieces, really making the most of Leicester's poor record from set pieces, where in the Premier League they've conceded the second most this season with 12. We of course used the height in our team to our advantage as well. Keenan Davis doing really well at holding the ball up as the point man. Really missed Lewis grabbing on the day. Obviously he's been an absolute star for us this season, but Keenan Davis really deputised really well. He didn't get a goal on the day, but for me was maybe third or fourth in terms of most important players on the pitch. He's obviously a big guy, he's physically quite a strong guy, but his ability to pluck the ball out the air and actually play these deft little touches between himself and the midfield and knock it onto the wide players. He set up a chance for Jed Spence just at the end of the first half, where he did exactly that, picked the ball out of the sky, turned his man, sort of rolled his centre back on the half turn, played it through to Spence, who almost scored. And you could just see him doing that all day, plucking the ball out, laying it off, creating chances, being busy, and also his physicality causing a lot of problems on the day for Leicester. Now, of course, Brennan Johnson, who had the most shots and the most dribbles in the squad on the day, and Jed Spence are probably going to get the plaudits from the pundits. That's really hard for me to say. The plaudits from the pundits on the day, but some of the performances from the team went really under the radar, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of them and talk about their stats in the game. First up was Joe Worrell. Maybe he hasn't gone necessarily under the radar, but was certainly, for my money, probably the man of the match on the day. Obviously, got himself a goal from that corner and was captain on the day, led the team fantastically, winning 3 aerial duels, 4 tackles, which was the most in the squad, completing 1 interception and 6 clearances, also the most in the squad, really showing himself to be a solid rock at the base of the defence, but also actually showing a really cultured side to his game, completing the most passes in the squad with 33 and 3 accurate long balls, showing that whilst we could play direct, we could also play between the lines as well when we needed to. Another player who really blew me away with his performance on the day was Philip Zinkernagel. I've always been a fan of the day and I thought he was really good at Watford, obviously pretty important in getting them promoted, and has had some really good spells with Forest on his loan spell here at the club. But today was, I don't want to say his best because I'm not seeing every game he's played, but it felt like his best game in a Forest shirt this season. Obviously scoring the first goal of the game, setting up the last goal of the game for Jed Spence, completing 3 chances for his teammates, the most in the squad and the joint most on the day from both teams, taking 2 shots, completing a dribble and drawing a foul from the opposition. Overall, his stats compare really nicely to the other attackers in the squad, actually compare quite nicely to Brennan Johnson as well. And if we were to sell Brennan Johnson in the summer, I wouldn't be against keeping Philip Zinkernagel. I think he's a really useful player, tactically very versatile, and clearly sort of knows his role in Steve Cooper's system. I kind of mentioned and alluded to in the match preview, which again, if you've not seen, check it up, it's in the iCard above, how important the attacking zones and the specific areas of the pitch are. Now obviously imagine the pitch split up into 5 sections. You've got the centre area, you've got the half space, you've got the wide space. And Forest have so much importance and reliance on the right half space and the right wide space. I mentioned how important it has been over the course of the season, and today was no exception. We took 43% of our touches in the right half space or on the right wing, and 42% of our shots down the same side, detailing really how important the link up between Jed Spence and Brennan Johnson is over the course of the season and specifically in this game. And whilst it's really important for chance creation, the fact that a lot of our touches come down that side of the pitch as well suggests how important it is for ball progression, and particularly with how weak Leicester have been at fullback this season and how porous they've been, and how strong their central midfield area is when you think of Ndidi and Tielemans, two pretty decent players. Pretty weak out in the wide back areas though. Our ability to really drive down the wide areas and progress the ball really showed quite well in this game, and it was a really good audition and really good case study as to how we've been playing this season. Just for comparison, in case you're interested, we took 30% of our touches and 33% of our shots down the left hand side. And actually, I do want to say a massive shout out to Max Lowe. Had a really good game, really under the radar on the day. His ability to sort of tuck inside and help sort of mitigate that side of the pitch really allows Spence to get forward and bomb forward on the attack. And I do think he deserves a lot more credit for his performance on the day. I said, and I'll hold my hands up, I got it wrong. I thought Colback was going to start on the left-hand side. I thought his ability to hold the position a little bit better than Lowe would be more important on the day. But he did a massively good job, the Sheffield United loanee. And again, he's another player who I wouldn't be against us keeping next summer. The last thing I want to do in this video is just talk a bit about Leicester, how they played on the day. And it wasn't amazing, but there's some positives to take away from it, I would suggest. The main issue that I think Leicester have, and forgive me if I'm saying something that everybody else is saying at the moment, if I'm beating the drum that everyone else listens to, but they really lack a plan B in build-up. I don't know, I've not watched a lot of Leicester this season, but what I have seen of them is they obviously, Brendan Rodgers, build out from the back. That's obviously plan A. They don't really have a plan B. And if a team does what we do, sit off slightly on them, play their two strikers against their centre-backs and drop their number 10 between the lines, they can't really build out. And the problem is with that, they don't have that plan B. And what was ostensibly plan B for them on the day was just to lump it long and hope Iheanacho could make it stick. And I actually think the Nigerian deserves a bit of credit because I do think he did quite well on the day. Obviously netted their only goal and was probably alongside James Maddison their biggest threat. I do think his ability to pluck the ball out of the air is actually quite good. And he's a really technical player, more of a number 10 than a striker, but he just didn't have anything around him really going for him. I thought Maddison was quite quiet and he was actually quite clearly frustrated with the way in which the game was going. He just couldn't get onto the ball as much as he wanted and in the areas he wanted it to go. Despite this, he was probably their most creative player on the day, taking the joint most shots for the team and also creating the most chances for the team as well, which suggests everything was probably going for him, but it just wasn't in the areas he wanted to be in that little pocket between the defence and the midfield. Also, first time I've actually watched him, Passan Daka, interesting signing, I quite like him. I've sort of seen a few bits of him out in Austria when he was playing for Salzburg, and his ability, he is rapid by the way, but unlike other really quick players, he's technically really sound, which is a really good sign of him fitting well into this Leicester system. I do think with Jamie Vardy, out for I think the next month or so, I do think he'll probably play a lot more. I think he's scored 8 or 9 goals so far this season for the Foxes, and I think he's quite a tidy little player and an interesting little pickup for Leicester. And another good sign of some decent recruitment from them over the years. Of course, our win moves us into the 5th round of the FA Cup and sets up a tasty little tie at home to Huddersfield Town, a team who recently beat us in the league in a game in which I don't want to say it was a typical FIFA game because that sounds so cliche, but we just threw absolutely everything at them. Could not get a goal for love or money. They nicked a goal and it was just one of them games where we just could not get anything going for us. And if it goes like that, I'll obviously be very disappointed. But for us to have made it to the 5th round of the Cup, to have made it through beating Arsenal, one of the best teams in the country at the moment, and Leicester, who are obviously the holders of the FA Cup and are a Europa League level team, I think we should be very, very proud of ourselves. Not just with the performance today, but the performance over the course of the season. And hopefully better things to come from the squad as well as we move into the second half of our championship campaign. Speaking of which, we have one game coming this week between ourselves and Blackburn at Ewood Park away from home in the championship, as I mentioned on Wednesday. If you want to see me do a match preview and match reaction to that, all you got to do is let me know in the comments section down below. It will follow a much similar sort of structure to the build-up and reaction to the Leicester game, talking about the stats, the key players, the key moments, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments section down below and I will get right on it. Well, that being said though, that does wrap up this reaction to Nottingham Forest taking on Leicester City in the 4th round of the FA Cup, in which we knocked out the holders of the FA Cup, and in pretty spectacular style, should I say. Obviously, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe whilst you're down there. It would mean absolutely loads to me. The last couple of videos I've uploaded have absolutely smashed in terms of how my videos normally do. Obviously, the January transfer window video is up at 1,500 views now. The match preview is at close to 750 views. We've grown like nearly 100 subscribers in the last week or so. So if you want to join a real burgeoning community of people on this channel, don't forget to subscribe down below when you're finished watching this video. With that being said though, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you for the Blackburn game. I will catch you later.